Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. Meanie. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Cameron Reigle.
And if I sound a bit off to everybody, that's because this is actually a variant of Hyle Russell that is joining you here today. This is Hyle Russell, sick, in parentheses. And I've just been added to the Kongversation lineup. I'm really excited to finally be here. You can get me for the next few days at only 105 rubies. So now is the time to strike if you want me in your roster. No, I'm battling a little bit of an illness this week. I'm on the upswing, but I apologize if I sound like death warmed over. But when there is Donkey Kong news to discuss, Cameron, the Kongversation can take no sick days. The Kongversation can't have bed rest, not when there is hard-hitting DK journalism to be had in podcasting form. And boy, do we have a story for you on this special mini episode.
Yeah, what is that story?
Oh, okay. It's up to me. Okay. So, in a first in the game's nearly 4-year-old history, a costumed variant of Donkey Kong himself has come to Mario Kart Tour with this week's Night Tour. Introducing Donkey Kong Gladiator. Woo! So yeah, this, it was actually a big deal depending on who you ask. This is in the Mario Kart Tour community, apparently, just, the biggest thing that has happened in the game since they added, Mii drivers. Yes, Donkey Kong Gladiator is the very first costume variant of any Kong character in Mario Kart Tour. You could make the argument that Donkey Kong Jr. SNES is a variant, depending on your point of view, but this is the very first one that is presented and marketed as a pre-existing character who is a Kong wearing a silly getup. And that's a big deal considering we have gone so long and have had so many theories about why we haven't had that in Mario Kart Tour when they've not been demure about restraining themselves from putting beloved IPs in absurd situations and with ludicrous accessories.
Yeah, up until now, it's been kind of conspicuous that, like, Mario Kart Tour has the highest volume of Kong characters of any Mario Kart game by a significant margin.
Oh, yeah.
But that they're all solely in their default designs again, unless you count DK Jr. is it's pretty conspicuous in a game that's like dipped into giving costumes to like some of the baby characters and Waluigi.
Having your first Donkey Kong costume variant in the game, I wasn't expecting it to be this, and I don't know what I was expecting if we ever got one. I was expecting for something maybe a little bit more on brand than Donkey Kong dressed as, they say gladiator, but he's got a bit of a Roman centurion soldier in there as well. So it's not just like gladiator gear. He looks like a soldier, but the description when you go to buy him, and of course, I checked my friends list, by the way, in Mario Kart Tour, and over half of the people had bought Gladiator Donkey Kong the morning of Wednesday. Like everybody was clearly waiting, saving our rubies for something like this to come along. Like I've been buying the Mii costumes, the Mii racing outfits as they become available, just because it gives all your Mii racing outfits a 10-point boost. So like I've maxed out my Donkey Kong Mii racing suit, how desperate I am for Donkey Kong content. And so it just makes sense to, invest in those. But I was also keeping some rubies squirreled away just in case we would be getting, say, Cranky Kong in the game, which was a theory, around when the Super Mario Brothers movie would come out. Of course, we did not get that. But you go to buy him, and the description says, Donkey Kong Gladiator. The gladiator of the jungle is here. Great description. Catch nearby opponents with his boomerang flower special skill. And so, yeah, this is the first Kong character in the game, including the Donkey Kong Mii racing suit, to not have a banana accessory as their special item. They've split the banana items between the giant banana peel for some Kong characters, the triple banana for Dixie and Donkey Kong Jr., and the godforsaken banana barrels for Diddy and Funky. And
thank God they didn't give him that.
Yeah, they did bring back the banana barrels for this tour, but it's for the lime green Mii racing suit. So we did dodge a bullet. Like, I would have just preferred the giant banana because when you get in a frenzy with the giant banana, there are few items that are better for racking up the points. But yeah, this is fine. It's different. And it's also being thematically paired with the Night Tour with the debut of the Rome Avanti track, where we're driving around Rome. And of course, that comes in several configurations, as these city tracks do. We will eventually see it in the Booster Course Pass, Wave 6, probably.
This kind of stood out to me because, for one, Rome Avanti, I don't think any of the other World Tour courses they've done have had their localized English name have a non-English word in it.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think they've done this before, but it's uncommon. It's a tour that is not branded after Rome itself. It's the Night Tour, and it's coming alongside
Moonview Highway?
Moonview Highway, thank you. I thought that it was interesting that I wasn't expecting the Rome course to be, if there was going to be a Rome course, I wasn't expecting it to be at night.
Yeah, they did just recently do they added Athens to the game. That's a track that takes place in the daytime where you're driving around ancient ruins. So, it switches it up a little bit. Some of the city tracks like New York Minute and, Singapore, but they take place at night as well.
Yeah, I guess now that you pointed out that way, it is kind of like a 50-50 kind of split when they mix it up.
Yeah.
There's a sunset one as well. But I thought it was interesting because it means Rome wasn't built in the day.
Oh, God. I could just see the gears in your brain working, and I didn't know what direction you were taking us with, but I knew it was going to have a payoff, as your bits always do, Cameron. You're a patient man setting up the joke. And we haven't seen this gladiator costume on Donkey Kong in the harsh light of day. So I'm looking forward to getting it into a daytime track once the 2-week night tour is over. And of course, we have long speculated that the reason there has been a lack of a Donkey Kong character variants, with the possible exclusion of Donkey Kong Jr. SNES, depending on your point of view, is that with the Donkey Kong brand management team that we know was put into place at Nintendo around 2018, then they would potentially have to clear every possible wacky iteration of the Kongs that they come up with them. Whereas with the characters defined as Mario series mainstays, they could just do whatever they wanted without any hassle, like give Luigi an enormous bratwurst or make baby Rosalina Sherlock Holmes for some reason. You mentioned they even gave some of the baby characters, which are basically variants unto themselves. They gave variants to some of the baby characters, and one of the weirdest ones was, here's Rosalina, and she's Sherlock Holmes, but a baby, because that was, I think that was the London, when they went to London, and they were like, well, we need characters representing London. Rosalina, Sherlock Holmes, and Waluigi is a bus driver. Let's do that.
Like, did they just figure out we need a character with an oral fixation to be Sherlock?
Ouch. Take that, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
It was a joke about the pipe. Well, I don't know what you mean.
Well, he's a very repressed man, Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, so a lot of people have called us out since this news broke, saying, hey, DK Vine, you were wrong, because we were making the argument that potentially the reason we have not seen Donkey Kong variants in this game is because of the brand management team and any like restrictions that might have put in place. Maybe restrictions is too harsh of a word, but protocol to go through, bureaucracy, right? And I just want to say, I'm not trying to defend anything we've made an argument for in the past, but it's not like I didn't want this to be happening. I'm happy we've got this because as somebody who plays Mario Kart Tour, at least in passing once a day, I did feel left out every time they would add a wacky variant, and it would not be any character I would care about. I would rather be getting Cranky in this game or Swanky to fill that hole, but it's honestly refreshing to have a Donkey Kong variant in the game and to get to have fun with that. And it's a new visual experience at the very least, and it's a new character I can start leveling up, and it's fun. I've been wanting this for a long time, so I'm actually happy about this. You're not going to rain on my parade. But I think sometimes we as fans, or even those of us who cover the happenings of Nintendo, I think we ascribe so much mythical weight to Nintendo's decision making as if each decision what was carried down from on high on stone tablets, and never can you contradict what is inscribed. And I don't think when we look at stuff like this, it's not, oh, Nintendo's not doing this, what does it mean? Nintendo's doing this, it must always be so. I think sometimes we forget that these are just human beings like us working in what could be a somewhat mundane job, office bureaucracy. And we do know that the Donkey Kong brand management team is a thing, yes. And so maybe that did have some effect on the lack of Donkey Kong variants for 3.5 years. And maybe it's not impacting Mario Kart Tour at all, and we were wrong in that case.
I mean, this happening doesn't preclude there being a Donkey Kong brand team that they had to run this by.
Right, yeah, so
because that's not like... There's not like a... When we say there's a Donkey Kong brand management team, we're not saying like there's a like mysterious council that gathers around in a circle in high chairs in a dark room.
Right, dark smoky room.
Generally, any significantly large enough franchise will have people in the role of like giving a rubber stamp on stuff like this.
Yeah.
Just making sure everything's on message. And maybe they had to go through that for Donkey Kong, or maybe not.
Yeah, like we just mentioned with Sherlock Holmes' Rosalina or Luigi with the Big Sausages, I think it's clear they come up with a costume idea to represent a city or a tour or a time of year before assigning it to a character, with the exception of some obvious ones like Yoshi being in an Easter egg, or those Mario get-ups that are just taken directly from Odyssey or other past games or promotional things.
To be sure, this kind of reframes my thinking on the costumes that we've gotten so far and the lack of Donkey Kong characters specifically getting them, in that it makes me realize, oh, there's not really an obvious direction to take Donkey Kong in the premise of these tours unless you specifically set out with the goal of, we need to do something for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, and I think you could have very easily done stuff like that with Donkey or Diddy, throughout, and they have leaned more heavily on characters like Daisy and Rosalina. And
I do appreciate the irony that the character, the tour and track that finally get Donkey Kong a costume are the track that finally gets Donkey Kong a costume associated with it is in Italy.
Yeah. I do like that. Like, finally, it's Mario's ancestral homecoming, and he gets completely shut out of anything new. But yeah, like, talking about, like, the Chain Chomp chariot which is the kart, which has nothing to do with Donkey Kong. Like, if they really wanted to tie it into Donkey Kong, they'd have some ostriches on there or something. I think it's clear they come up with the costume beforehand and then say, what character would fit this best? And they probably had this idea of a Roman centurion / gladiator pastiche. Realized that Donkey Kong's burly body type probably fit it the best, you know? Kind of muscular, but not like heavy set like somebody like Bowser or Wario would be.
And somebody who like doesn't look out of place wearing like a reduced amount of clothing.
Exactly, yeah, because Donkey Kong is just dressed in full-on sword and sandals, like he looks like from a romance novel cover, but he's usually more nude than this, so it works. So that, you know, if there is a Donkey Kong brand management team in place that has restricted this in the past, I'm sure they probably made their case to them and say, hey, we have this idea. We think it works for Donkey Kong. And they said, okay. And then that was it. Like, not everything has to be this complicated set of rules that we divine from afar.
It could just be as simple as emailing somebody and saying, hey, is this good? Yeah, sure.
It doesn't mean there isn't a Donkey Kong brand management team. We know there is. So whether or not that has any effect on Tour or not, at least doesn't preclude them from doing this in the future. So now it is on the table. We know that at the very least, if they have a good enough idea for a Kong variant, it will get in. So, hey, that's great.
Happy to be wrong.
You know, coming off the heels of the Nintendo Direct, I also saw people trying to glean some possible meaning behind this. Like, well, Donkey Kong is clearly a dead franchise, so they just don't care anymore. We're getting this this was announced the day after the Nintendo Direct. And I'm just like, come on, people. Like, there's sometimes we see correlation where none exists. They had this lined up for quite some time. The fact that it was announced after Nintendo Direct only happened because they show a preview for the next tour the Thursday before the next tour, and the Nintendo Direct was on a Wednesday this month. It was a coincidence.
I want those kind of people to tell me what Waluigi (parentheses bus driver) means.
It means he'll never be in a Wario game. He's too busy in his shift driving a bus.
Could have been Diddy. Missed opportunity.
Diddy is a skilled bus driver. Well, now they're claiming it's an Yukiki, but we know the truth. So I also had people. I'm not going to be on my my soapbox for too long, but I also just have to point this out because of the ridiculous news cycle I've had with this, Cameron. I also had people complaining that I was reporting on this at all. Because they said I was using it to hype people up and make them think a new Donkey Kong game was imminent. Grasping at straws is how it was worded. That's a new one. Me reporting on Donkey Kong stuff, running it on DK Vine, and then saying, how dare you? You're getting people's hopes up.
How dare you do your job?
Whenever I talk about Banjo-Kazooie, we're recording this on Banjo-Kazooie's 25th anniversary. A conversation about that, full-length conversation, is coming next. But, you know, nobody's like, how dare you talk about Banjo-Kazooie's 25th anniversary when you don't even know if a new Banjo game is in the works? I'm like, come on! Like, this, he's in Mario Kart Tour. I'm talking about it. I'm not, the reason behind DK Vine isn't to chase rumors and scuttlebutt on the next Donkey Kong game. We cover the entire DKU from nostalgia to the future, yes, but also current stuff like Mario Kart Tour. I don't know what you want from me, people.
It's DK in a fun outfit. I'm glad to see it.
I can understand people who don't play Tour or just don't get worked in the lather about Donkey Kong in silly context not caring about this, and that's completely fair. But we're going to have to talk about it because we are DK Vine. So I've also seen people say, and I want to get your opinion on this, Cameron, because I kind of raise my eyebrow at this. I see people say it's super obvious that they made Donkey Kong a gladiator because of the Ring of Kong in the Super Mario Brothers movie. Which I think that would be an argument to make if he looked anything like this in the movie, but he was just the movie's design of Donkey Kong. This is just Donkey Kong in a sword and sandals get up like you'd see the staff at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas wear. I don't really see the correlation here. It's a fun connection to draw with your mind, but I don't think that was the intent.
I could see this like being inspiration in the like subconscious thought sense. But I don't think it's specifically like, oh, they did this because they're trying to have parody with the Mario movie.
Yeah, they've done nothing in Tour to tie into the Mario Brothers movie, sadly, because I really wanted Cranky Kong in his King Cranky get-up in Mario Kart Tour. I thought that would have been awesome. I really wanted Bananas Foster Swanky Kong just set ablaze in Mario Kart Tour. We haven't gotten it.
If we see Fire Donkey Kong, that would maybe set off some alarm bells.
Right. 5-alarm fire right there. But no, this is just because they were doing Rome, because they do this for every city Mario Kart Tour visits. It is, like you said, it could have been a subconscious thing, but they clearly made no effort to market it as such. So I don't think there's any actual link there. But let's talk about this design. We've talked about the reasons behind it. Let's actually talk about the design. So Cameron, I love Donkey Kong in the Skylanders jumpsuit. I love Diddy Kong in the all yellow hero mode outfit. I like Kongs when they get a little bit fanciful, when they get outside of their normal gear. And I have to say, even though I don't think Donkey Kong and Italy really links up in my mind, I really do like the way Donkey Kong Gladiator looks.
Yeah, I dig the design. It's fun. It's very like Halloween costumey.
Yeah.
But in a way that like I kind of love. And I love in general when a game or like any kind of media puts a well-established character with an incredibly well-established look in a different outfit that is clearly a temporary thing, but just gets to have fun with it. Right. For a brief moment. It's the same reason I love the costumes in Mario Party 2. It's the same reason I love DK's like Daredevil a jumpsuit in Skylanders.
Yeah, I spent a long time navel gazing this. Being sick when the tour launched, I spent most of yesterday in bed, like clearing out the tour, building up Donkey Kong Gladiator, marveling at his animations. By the way, so Cameron, I know this is not the way you play the game. This is how I play Mario Kart Tour. When I'm clearing out a new tour, like playing all the tracks, I'm very restrictive in what characters and character kart combinations, and glider combinations I use, because you get this sort of end of tour scene, kind of in lieu of the usual trophy ceremony in a Mario Kart game, where all the characters you used in a tour, or maybe the characters that you finished first with, and their most used vehicle, are all driving together down the featured track of that tour, which means for me, I don't want any Mario characters in there. It has to be exclusively Kong. So I only use the Kongs in the vehicles I think best suit them. So I've got the regular Donkey Kong and the DK Maximum, the kind of varnished DK Jumbo. I've got Donkey Kong Jr. in the DK Jumbo, Diddy Kong in the Gold Train, Dixie Kong in the Banana Master, Funky Kong in the Rambi Runner, the high-end version of the Rambi Rider, and I've got me, the character you, my me, in the Donkey Kong Me racing suit in the Barrel Train. And for this one, I was like, I've got to select a vehicle for Gladiator Donkey Kong. Oh my god! So I selected the Chrome DK Jumbo. I briefly toyed with giving him the DK Maximum, but I didn't want to.
Oh, for the Maximum pun.
Right. I that worked too well for me, but. One, it would be pairing a high-end kart with a high-end driver, and I then would, give regular Donkey Kong the Chrome DK Jumbo? Well, that's two super items, a super driver and super kart paired together, which I was like, no, and anyway.
I ultimately agree with the call you made, because this is a costume for DK that has a lot of silver in it.
Yeah, like I didn't think regular Donkey Kong looked good in the Chrome DK Jumbo. So I ultimately selected the Chrome DK Jumbo for Donkey Kong Gladiator, and I think he looks great in it. I'm really happy. Now, if Cranky Kong gets in the game, which is what I was earmarking the Chrome DK Jumbo for, then we'll have a whole different discussion. But I also I've got regular Donkey Kong in the DK Maximum. I've got Gladiator Donkey Kong in the Chrome DK Jumbo, and I've got Donkey Kong Jr. in the regular DK Jumbo. So 3 iterations, in my opinion, of the same character, all in different versions of the DK Jumbo. It looks sweet when you see them driving together. All I'm saying. But then, of course, once I beat the tour, then I actually play the game how you're supposed to. You select the best drivers that you've got, the best kart, the best track, and then you try to grind into points that way. But it's just a fun little thing I do, and it also helped me level up Gladiator Donkey Kong. But I stared at this costume for Donkey Kong for hours yesterday, and I really admire how they have made it work. You wouldn't think it would work, and then you study all the ways they made it blend in almost seamlessly to Donkey Kong. So the helmet, it comes down and it sticks, it contours to the fur around his brow and ears, completely taking up what would be that brown negative space, just with silver. It's like a perfect fit, and it looks great. The crest on the helmet, which, by the way, I looked this up because I was like, what is the red floofy bit on these Roman Centurion helmets? Traditionally made out of either feathers or dyed horsehair. So, I don't think Donkey Kong, shaved a horse for this. Maybe he did, but maybe these
I've seen those cards. He's been around horses. We don't know if he's still allowed around them.
He shaved his pony from Mario Sports Superstars, is what you're saying? Yeah. I was thinking Funky gave him the feathers from Tox, and he used that for the hell. I don't know, but I like that crest sort of mimics in a more extreme version of Donkey Kong's cowlick. Which is a really cool thing that I didn't even realize until I saw him driving around animated. And I was like, oh wait, it's kind of it kind of looks like a mohawk on a early 90s kids cartoon, for an extreme character at Ninja Turtles or Street Sharks or something. But it looks like if they made Donkey Kong, they took Donkey Kong to the max and made him extreme, and that's what his cowlick would look like. Anyway, it really works.
I really like the helmet being molded around his, the ridge of his brow, because a lot of those old Roman helmets are depicted with a sort of tilted and curved brow like that, but it just naturally works really well applied to DK's face.
Yeah. This is also. Is this the only modern Donkey Kong design that doesn't have the tie?
Yeah, I did notice he doesn't have the tie.
He doesn't have the tie, and you don't see it unless he does his silly jump animations from a particular angle, but he's completely lacking a tie. What they do to visually make up for that is he's got the red cape sash of the Roman getup, and he's got the DK written on his wooden shield. So they make up for the lack of a tie, but they've clearly put thought into how could we make up for what we're sort of taking away from Donkey Kong? How do we make up for the deficiencies that so define his design and reincorporate them into this design? It's really clever. I have not analyzed any of the other costume variants to the extent I have done this, and I'm wondering, are they all this clever? Have I just been ragging on Luigi with the big sausage all this time? Not seen the brilliance behind it, or did they go above and beyond for Donkey Kong because they had to?
Who's ragging? Luigi with the big sausage is brilliant.
It's one of the new message icons on the new Play Control DK Vine forum. You can select the big sausage from Mario Kart Tour to define your post with. It's a decision I made. I stand by it. Cameron, you probably, when we're talking about the design a little bit, you probably want to talk a little bit about they still haven't incorporated Donkey Kong's new nose in Mario Kart Tour.
Yeah, this is something that is kind of distracting for me in both Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8, which is it comes with the territory of having evolving character designs, character designs that evolve over time, but also having these living games that go on indefinitely.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong in both Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart Tour still have his like older nose that was flat on his face, and it's not even just Donkey Kong that has stuff like this going on in Tour and 8. Like in more recent games, they've revised Daisy's design so she has more of a tan.
Yeah,
which is I think great, because I think somebody finally took notice of, we established she was the ruler of a desert land back in her first appearance. It's weird that she's white as a sheet.
Right, she's actually, like, in some appearances, even paler than Peach. It's just a completely bizarre design choice, the way they backtrack from that. So it's nice to see, although in the new Super Mario Brothers Wonder, she looks pretty pale again, right?
I've found it hard to tell, like, looking at the footage. I think she's still got, like, a slight tan.
Uh-huh.
But it's definitely jarring to go back to Tour and especially 8. But yeah, DK's new nose, I think I've mentioned this before, but I kind of have my suspicions that that Donkey Kong's new nose might be in deference to the increased role that 2D artwork has had in the Mario series, in its promotion and like being incorporated into the games, specifically that of Shigehisa Nakue, who I think Nakue gets his work misattributed a lot to Yuichi Kotabe, because Kotabe codified what the established Mario art style is, but he hasn't actively worked on Mario games in some time. Nakue kind of picked up that torch and has been running with it to really great success, as I want to point out every time I bring him up on DK Vine's channels. He was responsible for illustrating the Farewell Beloved Falco manga that was used to promote Star Fox Adventures, and he's kind of taken over by and large as the like go-to Mario illustrator, insofar as I can tell anyway, because this is an industry where people are not credited as well as they should be sometimes.
Right.
But he seems to definitely be the go-to, and his stuff has only gotten more and more striking over time, and more expressive and fun, and all that to say, he tends to draw Donkey Kong with this elevated nose ridge, with it sort of popping off of the muzzle of his face, which I imagine is a conscious choice because it stands out more in a 2D drawing.
Yeah.
To have that shape language there. And that's something that was as far back as, he worked on DK King of Swing, specifically, and I don't know to what extent he had a hand in the artwork of that game, but it's one of the earliest depictions of Rare's Donkey Kong with that nose. So I think it's sort of this language that has deeply embedded itself by now. All that to say, something very nice about having DK put in a very prominent appearance in a new tour in Mario Kart Tour is often when Mario Kart Tour does a tour of significance in that it highlights a real world location, it will come with a fun little illustration from Nakue, and like you'll get fun things like characters going shopping, or Daisy and Rosalina picking flowers. There's a fun one that I saw circulate a lot online with Luigi in sunglasses holding up a teacup. This tour is no exception. We get a very fun 2D like postcard style illustration of Donkey Kong in his gladiator getup, flexing and smiling for the camera, as in the background a Chain Chomp is lunging at him as Diddy looks on in abject horror, screaming and pointing.
And I also like how it's up to your interpretation if Diddy is screaming and tear because of the chain shop or because of how Donkey Kong is dressed. It's like, what did I just walk into? Oh my. I was going to say I should have knocked first, but we're outside on a public street. Oh my. No, it's a great piece of art. I saved it. I'm going to upload it to our gallery.
It's instantly one of my favorite drawings of Diddy. It's so expressive.
And it's wonderful to have a promotional piece of art, official promotional piece of art with Donkey and Diddy in a silly context, even in service to a mobile Mario Kart game. It's still really cool to see. It's always appreciated.
I would recommend, like, if you have absolutely no interest in engaging with Mario Kart Tour, just look these drawings up. They're all very fun.
But yeah, Donkey Kong has the raised nose in this illustration, does not have the raised nose on the in-game model because they have to keep it consistent with the regular Donkey Kong. And it's just this weird artifact that's lingering in the Mario Kart games. Whereas, like, for the Switch version of Tropical Freeze, they updated his nose, so...
Yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how the timing worked out that Tropical Freeze was beholden to that design change, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe wasn't.
Yeah.
It's what we got. Like I said, all of Daisy's costumed variants still abide by her original appearance in Mario Kart Tour, so this is a consistent thing they're doing across the board when they do a character variant.
That's true, yeah. And just pointing it out there, if the Donkey Kong brand management team formed sometime in 2018... then it's possible Tropical Freeze fell under that purview, whereas Mario Kart 8 Deluxe evaded it. I don't know. That's just speculation there, and I'm tired of talking about the brand management team. So maybe we'll just put any speculation to rest and not go there. Animation wise, though, Cameron, like, what do you think about all this fun little movements? Because they like to have these variant characters get a little silly when they're doing boost jumps to really show off the costume, and so Donkey Kong certainly does that here. Some of the animations, specifically the victory animations, are recycled from just normal Donkey Kong, but when he's boosting, you've got him swinging his wooden sword and shield around.
I love him mugging for the camera with the sword and shield, and it's one of those things that, like, is more and more absurd the more you scrutinize it. The idea of somebody in the middle of driving, swinging around a sword and a giant a buckler around.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you have a little play sword and shield, you're gonna be, like, play fighting no matter what context you're in. You could be in the hospital after a severe car accident, and you could still just be, somebody hands you a fake sword and a shield, and you're gonna be, like, swinging it around. You just can't help yourself.
I like that it's a wooden sword as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's mostly a conscious choice for, like, not encouraging the kids at home, but it feels appropriate for Donkey Kong.
Yeah, it does. It seems like he could have cobbled this together on Donkey Kong Island. So you're right. Like, it's, at the very least, even if it doesn't really make sense thematically when applied to Donkey Kong, they did do a really good job at making it work for Donkey Kong. And it's fun, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm really excited now that we have the possibility to get variants, because I would love to see Diddy or Dixie or Funky in something a little bit less conservative. Well, what's considered conservative for them, which is still half naked. I want them to get weird, and if it's possible, I mean, I'm still a little salty we didn't get a Funky Kong variant when they went to Amsterdam, but it's fine. It's fine.
If they go back to the US, he can put on his military fatigues and carry around his giant guns again.
Yeah, like when they added the cheeseburger cart with Charge and Chuck when they did, like, Los Angeles.
I love that cart.
Let's talk a little bit about some bad rumors right now before we finish up this episode. So we both really like Gladiator Donkey Kong. We're happy it's in there. We were happier about some other stuff earlier in this year, because earlier in the year, when the Yoshi's Island track was unveiled for the Booster Course Pass, it was developed, it was designed in conjunction with Mario Kart Tour for Mario Kart Tour, as all the booster course pass tracks are. And it came out that data miners for Mario Kart Tour hadn't covered the Yoshi's Island track under the file name MOB-YA, MOB being M-O-B, mobile, mobile Yoshi's Island, right? So any track that is designed in this cycle for Mario Kart Tour has MOB or MOB, as its prefix. They also found one called, MOB-DK in the files. So, of course, this coming out right after the Yoshi's Island track was revealed, everybody was like, well, obviously, we've got something new relating to Donkey Kong coming up as well. And that really buoyed the feeling back then that, yeah, we were probably going to get Diddy Kong with the booster course pass, because we finally got Birdo. And why wouldn't we get Diddy, the biggest character alongside Birdo who got overlooked for Mario Kart 8? And there were 5 whole slots then, and we were feeling cocky and confident, and Mob DK, and oh my god, I was excited about Mario Kart 8 again for the first time in a decade. Oh my god. So we were sitting pretty and feeling good about Donkey Kong's future. This was going into the Super Mario Brothers movie, of course. And I want to thank listener Traveler of the Stars for pointing this in my direction, because there is a whole Mario Kart Tour community out there that I was basically unaware of until the last week. And there's a community specializing in everything, so it doesn't surprise me. I mean, DK Vine is a niche community. We focus on Donkey Kong Country and the broader shared rare universe that emanates out of it. And you've got even smaller communities that only focus on, say, Banjo-Kazooie or Sea of Thieves or Playtonic. So why not just a Mario Kart Tour community? And I have to say, it was really amusing sitting back and seeing that Donkey Kong Gladiator was a huge deal for the Mario Kart Tour community, because they have been longing for a Kong variant even harder than us, if that is to be believed. They were up in arms about the fact that there were no Kong variants. Why isn't there a Kong variant? We want Donkey Kong in silly costumes. And so they've treated the Night Tour as one of the greatest updates ever for Mario Kart Tour, at least since the Mii update. So I think that's really cool. But Traveler of the Stars showed me that apparently the Mario Kart Tour community has been doing more data mining. And they've been looking at how things are lining up. And there is now some considerable doubt about Mob DK. Not that it doesn't exist. They are quite certain that Mob DK does exist. And that there's no question about it. It is coming. But they think it's getting queued up soon. And they're looking at what tracks it's being plausibly paired with. And they now think it might be a track entitled Daisy Kingdom. Now, we don't have this confirmed yet. This is all just speculation and reasoned guessing from the Mario Kart Tour data mining community. But this is also a community who called out the Donkey Kong variant a day or two before it was announced. So they're usually on top of things. They found Mob DK back in the early months of the year. So I don't think they really fly off the handle when it comes to wild assumptions. So, I don't know how to read the code on this stuff. I can't confirm or verify one way or another. I'm just trusting, just reading the tea leaves here, trusting what they're saying. And I know we're going to get shit if this comes out that Mob DK is a Daisy Kingdom track, because we were all excited about it. We were like, surely this is going to come to the booster course pass. It surely means Diddy Kong, at the very least Diddy Kong. But in our defense, come on, Mob DK right next to Mob Y.
It's a pretty logical assumption in a game with Donkey Kong in it to assume something named DK has to do with Donkey Kong.
And I know people are probably thinking this who aren't as absolutist as I am, and you're thinking, well, Daisy Kingdom? You mean from Super Mario Land? And you're getting all excited about that while I'm over here weeping in the corner. But, I mean, it would be cool to see a Super Mario Land track because that will show a greater willingness to dip into corners of Mario's history they don't normally do.
This is a thing where, like, I see a silver lining if it's not a DK track, which in the limited research I've done, I kind of get the impression that it's still not a dead certainty either way, but there is a lot more doubt than there was initially that it has anything to do with Donkey Kong.
Well, especially after the Booster Course Pass Wave 5 was announced and 3 of the character slots were revealed. And not one Diddy Kong, meaning it's coming down to the wire with 2 remaining character slots. And given our past history when it comes to all of this, we're not raising expectations when it's, where we're at the finish line.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point, I don't want to dwell on it too much, but I've gotten to the point where, like, it's not healthy for me to be optimistic about Diddy's chances getting into Mario Kart 8 anymore. Because I've had those pings of hope. I think this might be the 4th time in the life of Mario Kart 8 as an entity that I've gotten excited that Diddy Kong could be added to the game. And every single time I'm Charlie Brown running toward Lucy holding the football again, thinking, now every single time before this, I ended up falling in the dirt. But maybe this time will be different.
Yeah, and we just got done discussing Donkey Kong brand managers, and I say I wouldn't bring it up anymore. But, you're thinking, like, if there are all these restrictions put in place on Donkey Kong, sure. But what's keeping Diddy out of Mario Kart 8, which also predated a Donkey Kong brand management team by 4 years initially, and you've got no problem putting Diddy in Mario Kart Tour. What is the vendetta with the Mario Kart 8 team towards Diddy Kong? Like, I do understand and appreciate having this restraint in keeping the brands, mostly separate, except for some crossover here or there. Like, I applauded it in the Not E3 Nintendo episode Josh and I did. But at a certain point, Cameron, it can go too far. Especially when we're not getting any new Donkey Kong games with which to enjoy the characters in.
It's also just, I lament that we're even engaged in this school of thought where, like, it's Smash Brothers all over again, where we feel like, okay, we know there's a predetermined limited number of these additional characters we're getting, and I have to squirm in my chair every time one of them isn't Diddy Kong because he's the one I want most. When, like, in an ideal world, Petey Piranha and Wiggler have every right to be in Mario Kart 8 because they've been in a previous Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I shouldn't like feel resentment for a character not being Diddy Kong, because in an ideal world, every single one of these characters would be in the next Mario Kart game in perpetuity because they were in a Mario Kart game.
Right. The Super Smash Bros. Ultimate immediately calmed me down when the big announcement at first was everybody is here, all returning characters. So you no longer had that level of stress where like fans of characters who had been cut in the past were at each other's throats. I thought that was a great ground floor, and it's crazy that Mario Kart, they could put in all the past characters from at least the mainline Mario Kart games, excluding Tour, and they could do that very easily. And the fact that they're not, and they're making us fight for it. I mean, it's just, what are we doing here? And it's one thing if you want to keep Diddy away from Mario Kart because you've got big plans for the Donkey Kong franchise. But it's another if you're keeping him out of the best Mario Kart game while it's been 10 years since the last new full-length Donkey Kong game. You gotta give us something. And as much as I appreciate and love Donkey Kong Gladiator, if Mob DK is Daisy Kingdom, and that was like our best evidence that Diddy Kong is coming, well, Cameron, it's going to be a salty autumn here in the DK Vine offices. But I have no skills at data mining, so I can't go in there and verify it myself. But DK Vine, thanks to our generous patrons, does employ an entire room full of remote viewers, much like the CIA. And they have actually told me that the 6th and final character in the Booster Course Pass will in fact be Diddy, which of course means dry, incontinent, dusky Diamond Yoshi.
Finally.
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.